Here we go.
Go again. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Barbara and Kris show. So today we talked, we talked about a lot of things, but we talked about in the first place, I got a vaccine shot. I got my first vaccine shot. So that feels like, wow. And also, oh my God, like it's more emotional than I anticipated. And I feel really grateful that I have access to it. And then yeah, but just thinking about like how it feels in the body to like bring up these different things that are emotional.
We talked a lot about emotions, and we also talked about love today.
Yes.
We were at a point where we talked about that we both realize sometimes that we have moments in our lives when you remember emotions, or when we remember emotions which we were not aware of for a long time. And what is this doing with us?
Yeah, so almost being surprised by things that perhaps we had thought, oh, I processed that, I have worked through that, but that seems like a cyclical process. It feels like we're coming to like many of the themes that we've talked about, even like visual themes about like circle and cycle. Are like our conversation today just felt really like connected to these ideas about return.
They are coming physically with the circles in the videos and the cycles in the videos, but also like emotionally. We also talked about emotional circles and cycles now.
Yeah,
it's kind of a thing.
Oh my gosh, I mean, we didn't talk about this, but now I'm also thinking about like some of the ways in which, like today we talked about things like, you know, like childhood traumas, things from like a long time ago that you think, okay, I've like dealt with that. Sometimes you encounter something in your present tense that feels similar, and it kind of like calls that stuff up from the past in ways that are sort of surprising. And I'm thinking about that in relationship to sort of like reveal and conceal. Like I'm returning to some earlier sketches that we did in our video series where we're covering the body for you in particular, sort of covering and uncovering. There's the sort of spinning, but I'm thinking about that, the stuff that's underneath the surface.
Yes, and it's then life again says hello again.
Yeah, I really appreciated our conversation today. You know, too, to just think about like the different practices that we do to keep ourselves well and healthy, and ritual too. You know, there's that as well. It seems like some of the rituals that we have that are individual things, like I think about even in your introduction video when you talked about how you like to get up in the morning and have that time in the morning, and that feels like it's just like, oh my gosh, like I think that is great. You have that type of thing. You know, I have some types of things like that, but not really in the way that you described it, as like you have that time where you're getting ready and preparing yourself. That just sounds like really emotionally mature. Like I'm looking for those practices in my life, and I don't have a meditation practice. I don't have a yoga practice, but a practice that I do have for myself that I appreciate is therapy. And I think about it like that. Like I think when I go through times where I'm like, oh, I don't have enough money and I got to cut back on things, and I can't have a gym membership or whatever. One thing that I have done for myself in the past few years is to really prioritize having a therapist. And sometimes that means that I like throw it on a credit card and just decide I'm going to deal with that later. But the outcome from having a regular place to like work on my emotional landscape with someone else has had a massive effect,
Yeah.
on my daily life.
Yeah, I think this is so important to give emotional things, topics, and yeah, things like that, to give it like a place and a space in our lives. Actually, to be honest, I mean, this is maybe a little bit a different topic, but to be honest, this is why I really like the base of the idea of religion, or like churches and things like that, because I think it's like there are also people from the countryside, like also the farmers and so on, have a time in the week and a space and a place for spiritual things, like in base, like in ground. Like, I mean, I'm not talking about, I don't know, people abusing it and things like that, but like the idea of, once in a week celebrating something spiritual is an idea which I really like. And yeah.
Oh my God, totally. I mean, I'm on the same page with you. I don't really have a particular religious affiliation. The base of spiritual practice to me feels very rooted in cyclical rituals and repetition.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about, like the idea that it's not bound by geography or social condition, that you might live in a rural place and have an aspect of your practice be Sunday, either once a week or once a day or whatever it is, to do prayers or to make space for some kind of ritual that makes you feel connected to yourself and connected to, or transcendent, like sort of connected to the universe in a way. I think that's very powerful. And so powerful that, like you said, oftentimes it gets used for nefarious reasons, to either control populations or to create violence, which, I mean, like, there are plenty of examples from the contemporary. There are also plenty of like crusades in history that were motivated, supposedly motivated by religious ideas. But yeah, these like the idea of a repetitive practice that and you said something about like making space for. It takes labor. It takes labor to work on emotional things. And I find it helpful to have a container for that. Like, I like structures. It's not unlike this residency. I was like, yeah, I'll sign up for this thing. Like, I like talking and listening. I like interacting with new people. There are very few opportunities for it during global pandemic, especially to create an international.
Yes.
This is really special that we get to do it this time.
Yes.
But yeah, I like the structure, right? The structure of like, okay, it's a residency. So that means that like we have a timeline, we have, sort of certain support around meeting each other and collaborating. And I kind of feel that way about therapy. Maybe I could do some of the same self-reflective activities on my own, but it helps me to have a regular time on a weekly basis where I know I'm gonna be able to do that with somebody too. Yeah, bringing your whole self, like bringing your how can you be your whole self in a practice, and yeah, I don't know, in the beginning of our process, I talked about like looking for places where I could derive pleasure in the sense of play. And I think that part of that is an emotional desire to have a range of experiences within my practice. I think it just would be disingenuous if we were trying to make something together where we were like, oh, it's not right now, we're not in trauma, we're not having a global pandemic, we're not working through individual situations with relationships and like other people in our lives. Like, I feel like that yeah, I feel really lucky that we've landed with each other for
Yeah,
that
me
reason
too.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Like on a base level, I think you are doing a similar thing around sort of, well, you're self-reflective and like paying attention to and investing in care for yourself.
Mm.
And that is something that I admire. And I feel like that's something I like, I'm trying to do, I try to do that for myself as well.
Yeah, I mean, once I developed this in my life, I feel like I don't know, I don't want to miss it anymore. Like, I mean, of course, I'm still working on it and trying to develop it further and so on, but I really can, like, I mean, it's the best thing you can do to yourself, like to create structures or repetitions which are like good for you. Yeah, and what I'm learning now at the moment is to doing this not only with like things I do to my body, with with what I eat and so on, and doing like getting up early and things like that, or try to get enough sleep, but also like emotionally, also like in relationship to people. I try to like create a routine how my relationships are or turn out or develop, to create a routine which is good for me. Relationships which are not good is maybe the baddest thing. Anyway, you know what I mean.
Absolutely. That those relationships that we carry and that like attachments that do feel positive can positively affect us.
Mm.
And it sounds like you're talking about the relationships that affect us negatively may be affecting us whether or not we are consciously thinking about them.
Mm, yes, exactly. And I think it's also like so important to learn to stop relationships which are not good for ourselves, and like setting borders, and like be really picky, or like picky by choosing the people we are spending time with.
Oh, totally. Like,
Mm.
what are the ways that I can structure support for myself? What are the choices that I'm making? What are the patterns in the choices that I'm making? Yeah, that there's something, that can feel hard, like hard to make that turn on emotion.
Mm.
Because if it hurts and ostensibly someone else is hurting us, it is I think more comfortable for me to think that person is hurting me or this situation is hurting me. And it's a different aspect of that to ask, which things am I choosing that are contributing to this? Which ways in which am I choosing to hold myself in trauma or hold myself in something that is hurting?
Mm. 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 Wow, it's getting so deep again.
Yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
Well, but what a benefit of
Yes.
this time that we have together. But it's like, it feels to me like those things that we're sort of working around and thinking about, like
Mm.
it feels to me these are all connected. There are some strands that are about like ritual, repetition, artistic practice or creative practice being a place that where there may be the possibility for healing and catharsis.
Mm.
Those have relationships to other cyclical patterns like therapy or meditation or even your daily practices about getting up early and saving space for yourself.
Mm.
And
Mm.
then we have this kind of like cyclical stuff that we keep dancing around and returning to, which is so, that makes so much sense, doesn't it? It's like all of the things feel to me to be informing one another. And also just in a way we're becoming like deeper, our connection is deepening as we get to know each other, as we sort of excavate these different areas that have emotional significance.
Yes, Yes, I think so. I think so too. Yeah, and it's like amazing how I don't know. I mean, I also had this topic with a friend of mine, and we are only actually in contact via email. And it was like we thought like, oh my God, we are so close. We are feeling so close. Our friendship is feeling so close, but we are only writing email, you know. And this is something that is really crazy. And I also have the same feeling like in our Zoom meetings. Like it feels like I'm visiting you for a coffee and we are like so close, like, but without being close. But on the other hand, of course, like the physical like closeness, but not like, you know, not like romantic closeness, but like, you know, I don't know, feeling the vibes. It's still missing, of course, but I don't know, emotionally, I feel like that we are like getting really close, like only via Zoom. Yeah, but I don't know. What do you think? Should we stop the recording now?
Yeah, probably, unless they do want a full hour of
Yeah. Yes.